Now succinic acid. First I need to take and zero it on the scale. Okay, it's ready to go. So succinic acid's more crystalline than the other ones. The other ones were more powdery. Could be just the way they were broken up. Let me see if it's more dense. Oh yeah. So we're about there on the first one, 0.375. Just that little pinch was enough. Now to add solvent to the succinic acid samples. So water in the first one to approximately a milliliter. Whoa, that one looks soluble quick. Yeah, it's looking like it's almost gone already. Maybe it's still some on the bottom. Let's give it a minute. I'm going to add all the solvents first. So now methanol will be next. A little more. There we go. And finally, hexanes. Let's see how these are going. Let's give the water a little stir. Looks like it's dissolving. Still a little bit left in the bottom, not a lot though. Now I'll give the other two a stir as well. Methanol. It looks like it's dissolving, but maybe not as much as water. Let's check the hexanes finally. I think it might be dissolving a little bit in that too. Let's take a closer look at each. So this is the water. I see a little bit undissolved, but not a lot. Methanol, it looks about the same. And hexane's about the same too. It's hard to tell. This is more of a compact solid. It's more dense. Well, I don't know about dense, but it's more compact. It's small to begin with. So let's try heating them. Looks like the methanol dissolved it completely with heat. And the water, it dissolved just about all of it. And so now let's give the hex. The heat didn't seem to change the hexane too much. Nah, but the methanol and the water, yeah, it really made a difference. It looks like it completely dissolved in the methanol. Well, actually just a little speck undissolved in the methanol and a bigger amount undissolved in the water. I have to look back and see how much of the solid I had in each, if they were close. The succinic acid in hexane, I wasn't expecting much to dissolve, and it's kind of hard to tell whether it did or not, but I'm going to show you another little side experiment we can do to see if much, if any, dissolved. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a watch glass, and I'm going to go ahead and zero it to start too, so that I can get a mass at the end if I see anything. So take my watch glass, put it on here, I'm going to zero it out. Okay, and then what I'll do is I'll pipette some of the, could be termed the supernatant, or the solution above the undissolved solid. I'm going to pipette some of that out of the hexane and put that on the watch glass, because on the watch glass there's a lot more surface area, so it'll evaporate much quicker. So I'm pipetting out the liquid above the undissolved solid in the hexane, and I'm going to pipette it onto this pre-weighed, pre-zeroed out watch glass. And the surface area of the watch glass is much greater. It provides a much greater surface area for our sample on the watch glass than it does inside of the test tube. So this hexane will evaporate rather quickly. So I'll let it sit for a little bit, and then we'll check to see after the hexane's evaporated whether there's a solid present. If there is, that meant that that was solid that was dissolved in the hexane, and we can even weigh it on the scale. At room temperature here, it took under 5 minutes for this hexane to all evaporate, and I don't see much of any solid on it. It looks like almost none of the succinic acid dissolved on there, but maybe there's a little bit of something there. Actually, let me scratch at it with a spatula and see what happens with this. Sometimes you scratch around and it'll precipitate out. It's better visually on the black surface. No, I'm not seeing anything there. And I can put it on the scale and see if it looks any different. So I zeroed it out before I added the hexane, and it's actually coming up as a negative value. So yeah, it looks like virtually none of the succinic acid dissolved in the hexane.